Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I want to thank the collection of the community in Baltimore for being here, including members of the team from Sagamore, our faith leaders who are here and who have been extremely helpful as we work to craft a plan for this development that speaks to the needs of our greater community. I want to thank our community leaders who are here, as well as our business leaders. Today, the Board of Estimates approved 3 significant agreements related to the Port Covington development in Baltimore City. These agreements meet the standards that I set when thinking about whether to support the TIF needed to move this project forward. The negotiations to frame the agreements took time and careful consideration. I believe what has been approved today will help the city reach its goals around local hiring, supplier diversity, and affordable housing. As the project's approval process continues, I want to be sure that we got this right from the beginning. Port Covington must be a place where all residents have an opportunity to find a home, to have outdoor spaces to enjoy, to have access to work and entertainment, shopping, and retail options. Port Covington must benefit the entire city of Baltimore. These agreements put us on a path to realize that goal using best practices and tangible commitments. We know that our current residents must have access to the jobs created by this process. The local hiring MOU sets the goal that a minimum of 20% of all on-site workers must be Baltimore City residents. And Sagamore Development will comply with the local hiring ordinance requiring that at least 51% of all new hires will be Baltimore City residents. But we're not stopping there. Sagamore has agreed to fund a local hiring coordinator within the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, with the role of solely focusing on connecting Baltimore City residents to jobs at Port Covington. We knew that getting a job is not enough. You need to be able to get to those jobs, and we didn't want people to spend hours commuting. This MOU also requires Sagamore to ensure easy, affordable transportation to and from the site. And finally, Sagamore is investing now in the future workforce of our city. They have agreed to fund at least 100 youth works positions annually for the life of the MOU. For Port Covington to be successful, I knew that it had to be inclusive. We've developed a strong MOU to ensure that small, minority, and women-owned businesses play a key role in this project. This means sizing contracts to be competitive among MWBEs, hosting regular stakeholder engagement meetings, and hiring an independent third party to monitor the developer's achievement on its inclusion goals. This is in addition to meeting the city's MWBE legal requirements. Sagamore will also participate in the city's mentor-protege program, which helps MBEs and WBE companies grow by providing additional technical and management assistance from successful business leaders in our community. Sagamore will form at least 5 mentorship relationships as a part of this MOU. We have seen firsthand how this program benefits entrepreneurs like Damon Roundtree, president of Emerge Contracting, currently working on the Harbor Point project. These efforts are not just for the construction phase, but for pre-development and for after construction. For the entire life of the project, we will continue to work on these efforts. Part of being inclusive also means ensuring a diverse, mixed income approach to housing. We need to create affordable workforce housing so people can live in the city, work in the city, and build and raise their families right here in Baltimore City. The city and Sagamore Development have set a goal of having 10% of all residential units built on site accommodate households at or below 80% of the area median income. We've also developed an MOU that prioritizes the creation of affordable units below 60% of AMI through the use of low-income tax credits, housing tax credits, so that affordable workforce housing can seamlessly be integrated into the project as it is being built. This housing will be constructed at the same time and the same quality and design as the project's market rate housing. This is the first ever agreement of its kind to integrate affordable housing into private development projects at this scale. And if these units cannot be provided, as described, Sagamore Development will make payments to the city's Inclusionary Housing Offset Fund to ensure that funds are available to construct such units. We will be building not only for today, but for future generations. We must get this right. And I believe that Port Covington will deliver for Baltimore City and Baltimore City's residents. The anticipated economic impact during construction is $7.6 billion, generating 42,000 jobs. Once the project is completed, it is expected to have an economic impact of $4.3 billion, generating 26,000 jobs annually. Those numbers apply to every year. And we know this project will not be built in a year. This is a long-term process. But the approval of these agreements with the city will begin realizing the benefits now. I believe this is the type of support you get from a company that is from Baltimore, that believes in Baltimore, and that wants to see Baltimore to become stronger, if not the strongest economic engine on the East Coast. I want to commend those who have been a part of the negotiation process to better our city. Sagamore Development has committed more than what was required and then some. This is a company that will be among us for generations, and I'm proud to announce the approval of the Port Covington MOUs, and I look forward to continued public review of the project that will transform Baltimore. With that, I would like to introduce Mr. Mark Weller, President of Sagamore Development. Mark?
Thank you, Madam. It's very, very exciting. Very exciting to be here today. Thank the mayor. I want to thank you very much for having us and making this a reality. I want to thank many attendees. I'm going to forget some, but we have so many great supporters. Reverend Hathaway, Joe Jones, Center for Urban Families, Reverend McKinney, Reverend Gwynn Sr., Reverend Al Bailey, Sheila Brooks, the President's Roundtable, Bob Wallace, Biff Energy, Damon Roundtree, also a sub who's working for us in some of our jobs, Martin Jackson, another subcontractor, is working for us now. Noman Nasir, another subcontractor, is working. And leaders of the three agencies, thank you very much. So we're honored to be here and be part of the transformational development of Port Covington. It's one of the largest urban renewal projects in America right now, right here in Baltimore. We're confident that the redevelopment effort will have a fundamental and far-reaching positive impact on Baltimore, its economy, and its future. A new Port Covington will mean thousands of new jobs, literally thousands, tens of thousands, for the city, better transit to those jobs, new businesses, more than 40 acres of parks, new space for manufacturing, fresh opportunities for innovation, entrepreneurship, new ways to reach the waterfront, and more. The unprecedented economic opportunity in Port Covington is expected to support 42,000 jobs and $7.6 billion in economic activity during construction. Just repeating what the mayor said, but it is absolutely astonishing. 26,000 jobs and $4.3 billion in the economic activity annually upon completion. With these opportunities comes our commitment and obligation to ensure that the economic benefits are shared throughout Baltimore City. We're here today to talk about the citywide agreements with the mayor, and we're proud of these agreements. But I'll say, in response to Councilman Young's comments, we look forward to working with the council during this process and getting through that. These commitments are the tip of the iceberg, and we're doing it, and we will continue to do it. As the mayor outlined, we're committed to local hiring. I'll say it again, though, 51% of newly hired employees at Port Covington will be Baltimore City residents. We're also setting a minimum goal of 20% of all on-site employees will be Baltimore City residents. We're committed to promoting diversity and inclusion through the construction and continued operation at Port Covington, ensuring that minority and women-owned businesses are recruited, encouraged, and succeed in participating in Port Covington. We really want to make that happen. We are committed to inclusionary housing with a goal of 10% of affordable units at Port Covington and contributions to the Inclusionary Housing Fund. But on top of these commitments, detailed by the mayor, we're announcing today something special. We're going to contribute $10 million over the next 5 years towards citywide programs and initiatives focused on education, workforce, development, youth empowerment, as well as other priorities that are important to Port Covington's neighboring communities. As part of this, Sagamore will fund at least 100 YouthWorks jobs for young folks annually, starting this summer. This is an important signature program for our mayor, and we're very proud to support it. We'll also be investing in other local community priorities, programs, and initiatives. We anticipate beginning to announce later this year as discussions with our neighboring communities continue to ramp up. In addition, we will clean up the Middle Branch once and for all. Sagamore has an aggressive sustainability environmental plan for the Middle Branch. The area was once a major recreational waterfront resource for Baltimore, and it's fallen into disrepair and disuse. We'll remove and are removing the incredible amounts of trash clogging its shores and help prevent additional garbage or waste from accumulating in this underappreciated natural environment. I'll close by saying that we're excited and humbled to be part of building Port Covington, be part of Baltimore, building Baltimore City. As Kevin Plank likes to say, we're just getting started.
Thank you, Reverend. Oh, Joe.
Good morning. Madam Mayor, thank you as always for your leadership. Mark, thank you for the tremendous work of Sagamore. You know, I can't tell you how excited I am as a lifelong resident of Baltimore, someone who's lived in the projects in East Baltimore, Park Heights, the North Avenue corridor, to see our city on the brink of doing something big and bold. At a time when we have corporations across urban America moving to other places, we have a homegrown Fortune 500 company that's bringing its global operations to Baltimore City, building community, incubating businesses, and investing in hiring people, residents of Baltimore City. We have an opportunity to do something here that will be a model for other cities around the country. I'm so honored and so proud to be here, to be a part of the team of community residents who are lending their voices, who will continue to lend their voices to push this project forward and to do things in Baltimore that are not being done in any other urban center around the city, around the country. So in closing, let me say that for those who really think about bold vision, this is a bold vision. This is an opportunity for us to do the kind of things that will build a sustainable workforce, not short-term employment, to do things bold initially, but to have people included, and importantly, investing in our young people to make sure that over the life course of these MOUs, young people have an opportunity for jobs and employment that will prepare them for work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Hathaway.
Thank you. My name is Reverend Dr. Alvin C. Hathaway, Sr. I'm the senior pastor of Union Baptist Church in Baltimore, also a principal in community churches for community development. I've been fortunate in my career to have participated in many of the major developments, beginning as a young person in Harbor Place, and the work that we took to create that vision, where we worked to make certain that a referendum was passed that would allow for the building of that facility, and then the inclusion of people in the city in that. I've continued on in my career till now. This is the most amazing process and project that has hit our city. We have the opportunity to nurture a 20-year-old company that is on the upswing, that as it moves from where it is now to become a Fortune 500 company, it will take Baltimore City with it. When I heard about that, I went to the members of Sagamore, and I said to them that you need to walk the community in which I work, in which I was born. I was born in Upton. And I walked them through the streets of Upton. I showed them the young men that were sitting on corners that was waving at me, Reverend Hathaway, how you doing? And I said, these are the people that this community and this project has to address. They have to see the opportunity to be connected to this project. I then gave them a little scripture because I am a preacher. And I told them that in Jeremiah 29 that we're going to pray for the peace and the prosperity of the city. Amen. Because as the city prosper, we all prosper. Then I took them to our Head Start program. I showed them 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And I said to them, what can you say to them now to let them know that when they grow and mature, that there'll be careers and opportunities for them? And they sat there and they made the commitment. They made the commitment that over the life of this project, that they will include people from the communities in which I serve and from which I was born. They said they made the commitment that they will invest in this city in a way that the young children that we're nurturing at our Head Start program will have an opportunity for jobs. But more importantly, they said, we're going to make certain that as our boat rises, all of the city rises. And with that, I said, I'll make a commitment to work with you, to advise you, to critique you, but most importantly, to pray with you that you will achieve the goals of creating within our community an amazing 1/6 of our city, create the goals in our city to make this an amazing place where people all over our city will go to travel, but also go to work. I would say to you that in closing, that for those that find themselves a critic of government, that those that find themselves a skeptic of government, I would ask that they will participate in this process in a constructive way, because out of that constructive conversation, we will shape an amazing city and an amazing project, and Port Covenant will be a place for which we all can be proud.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it for the speakers. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm thrilled about this project. I want to thank members of my team. I want to thank the members of the team at BDC as well for working hard on this project. Again, I think this is something that Baltimore can be proud of. And with that, I'll open it up for a few questions.
Mayor, how do you respond to Council President's comments?
I think it's unfortunate that the president would choose his opportunity to lead, to cast aspersions on the efforts of all these people who are standing here. They work really hard to craft MOUs that have gone above and beyond anything the city has seen before. And it's unfortunate because what's clear that there's a lack of understanding there, that he has decided to, again, make it seem like it is less than it is, and it's not. These are people who understand what it takes to be bold, understand what it takes to be inclusive, and understand the complexity of these types of deals. And they've come together to put something forward that Baltimore has never seen. And I think it's unfortunate. He had a chance to lead, to say that, thank you for all of your hard work, and I look forward as the process moves forward to working with all of you to make sure that this is a public process, that continues to be a public process, and that the needs of the community are addressed. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Madam Mayor, in the MOU, it says that the project is exempt from the requirement to create affordable housing under the IH law. Why was that exemption made?
I would have to get someone to, Graziano?
Yes. The inclusionary housing ordinance has a requirement that any project that receives significant public subsidy has to be reviewed and to determine whether the provisions of that ordinance are applied. And specifically, if they are, then there are to be 20% of the units on the site as affordable. The challenge in this project, and really, frankly, all the projects that we reviewed up to date under the ordinance, is that it also has a provision that if there are to be these affordable units on the site, the developer must be held harmless on the cost of those units. And so our analysis of this project says that if you were looking at approximately 5,300 units, I think it was 5,329 in the scenario we looked at, 20% of those units, the city would have to spend close to $200 million, 184 million, I think is the figure, out of city funds to make those units affordable, because that's the way the ordinance is written, that while the developer is subject to making units available, the city has to pay the bill. And frankly, that works out to close to $200,000 per affordable unit. And that's way, way larger than anything we put into subsidy for any of the projects that we do. We typically, as a city, put $30,000 to $40,000 per affordable unit into a development deal. And those deals typically involve low-income housing tax credits. And that's where we moved immediately to that model that says the city cannot possibly afford to put in that kind of money. But what we can do is leverage the opportunity of the low-income housing tax credit and put in the typical amounts that we would in a deal. And under that scenario, we expect to get hundreds of units built on site, which is unprecedented in any of the major projects that have been reviewed. So while it's exempt from the technical provisions of the inclusionary housing ordinance, there will be hundreds of affordable units, and low-income housing tax credits, as was pointed out, are 60% of area median income and below. We also expect there will be vouchers put into some of the units to make them affordable to people below 30% of area median income. What's that? There's language about the city working with the developer, and I can just say from experience, the housing authority has traditionally worked closely with the city on deals like this. Speaking from the housing authority perspective and from the Housing and Community Development Department, we welcome the opportunity to partner up with Sagamore and whomever developers they bring on board to build this housing, because it's a tremendous opportunity to create literally hundreds of affordable units in an exciting new community.
Practically speaking, this is a large site, so under that model
Yes.
of the low-income housing tax credit model,
Yes.
there could be another builder that builds units, am I correct?
Well, I'm not going to speak for Sagamore, but typically a master developer, which I guess you'd describe Sagamore as a master developer of the whole site, would bring in other developers as well to do some of the vertical work, and I'm certainly not the one to speak to that.
So under that model, is it possible that what we would end up with is a development that has, you know, office, retail, housing, and that there could be a separate part on the site that is, in other words, it's not, the housing is not all built together, but there would be a separate housing area that has, that is built with low-income housing tax credit. Am I correct, or no?
Well, first of all, again, I'm not the master planner, but the housing would be mixed, and I don't think it'll be immediately abutting the manufacturing, for instance, so the housing would be mixed, and it specifically calls for in this agreement that it be built in the same phases as the market rate housing, and that it be built to the same quality and the same management standards and so forth.
If the housing weren't to be built, there's inclusionary housing fund offsets. Are those annual or are those one time?
The inclusionary housing offsets are, our hope is that they will not be utilized.
Right.
Our goal is that they will be, that we want hard units. We don't necessarily want the dollars, we want the hard units, and that's, this thing turns it around and says, first you must build units on site. Only if it's infeasible to build them on site do you pay into the fund.
If that payment is necessary, are they one-time payments?
They're one-time payments.
So you're talking about a maximum of 25 million if they build 5,000 units?
It's a sliding scale. I haven't sat, you know, the first 1,000 is 3,000 a unit. The next, and then it goes up to over 5,000 is $5,000 per unit. So,
Any concern that payment is not enough to dissuade the potential for just building all market rate apartments?
well, the agreement, and I didn't mean to be monopolizing here. The agreement is structured in a way that you can't elect to, the developer can't elect to just pay the 3,000 or the 5,000. The agreement flips that around, and it says the developer must use all commercially reasonable efforts to get this housing built. And as I set out the Board of Estimates, I don't know if all of you were there, in my experience, any project, low-income housing tax credit project that was proposed for this site would be very, very attractive to the city. We would put money in to support it, and the State Housing Finance Agency would certainly make it a priority. We just got 7 projects approved this year in the city, 494 units, 7 tax credit projects. There's not one site there that would exceed the quality of this site, and most of them are of lesser quality. So I am confident that we're not going to be focused on payments of dollars. We're going to be focused on building hard units.
Just in theory,
Yeah.
what mechanism,
One
what
second.
mechanism exists?
1 second.
Well,
I just want to speak to our absolute commitment on the housing side to make sure it's inclusive. This is just a base, just a starting off point, jumping off point, and we have a long ways to go. But we see this being an incredibly inclusive area with integrated housing. We don't see taking areas and putting affordable housing here and non-affordable here. We're putting them all together. And I just want to reiterate our absolute commitment to that. That is absolutely necessary to fulfill the vision that Sagamore Development has for this project.
With about 750 units, I guess, would be produced. So is there an estimate of how much money in tax credits and home funds and stuff that would cost in terms of additional?
Well, this is an extraordinary project, but each of the tax credit projects proposals that come in are not extraordinary unto themselves. That is to say, the housing department would go to the Board of Estimates with the same types of subsidy levels that we traditionally do. It could be some home funds, it could be some city bond funds. There might or might not be, well, the Board of Estimates wouldn't approve the vouchers, but there would likely be vouchers on some of the units as well. So the point is, this model doesn't require extraordinary efforts from the city to make these projects work. And that's what's different, and that's why I'm very confident. I think the developers are very confident that this will work. This is not, again, the inclusionary housing model that says the city's got to come up with nearly $200,000 cash for every affordable unit. The city will be, I predict, putting, the same amount we do, $30,000, $40,000 per unit in the affordable units.
One more, guys? That's it? All right.
Thank you all very much.
Could we ask about the transportation element? I didn't get a chance to look at it entirely. It's pretty broad, I think. What kind of things are you planning for affordable transportation to the area?
Affordable transportation would be bus service, improved bus service. We're working closely with the governor's office right now to improve that, and the city Department of Transportation. We're also looking very closely at light rail, bringing light rail into the site. So improvement of those two, plus bike paths, walking paths, and circulators, direct circulators, we think can answer an immediate need. So that's what we're working on.
And can you talk a little bit about, in terms of jobs right now, do you have an estimate of how many Baltimore City residents are already working on the project?
We'd have to get back to you with those numbers. We do. We have those numbers.
Like how many
Sure.
you guys already employ?
Thank you all very much.